Hi, magandang gabi. Ako po si Trixie Cruz-Angeles. Ito po ang Luminous. I hope everybody's having a good night. Of course, hindi ko mapalipas about a week ago, a few days ago, sinabi na natin, meron kasing nag-post sa Twitter na si Mrs. Robredo daw work or has experience in three branches of government. So the judiciary daw, which is wrong, the executive and the legislative. Sa legislature, maliwanag yon, kongresista siya. Sa executive, vice president siya. But, ang sinasabi nila ay yung pagtrabaho daw niya sa PAW ay, means that she worked uh, in the judiciary, which is not true. Kasi ang sinasabi nila is, Mrs. Robredo, is an officer of the court and therefore under the judiciary, which is not true. Okay? Maliwanag po yung paghihiwalay ng mga branches of government. And even if the lawyers are in private practice, hindi po sila kinoconsider na member ng judiciary or working in the judiciary. Kung sana maa-argue yan, kung siya po ay nagtrabaho bilang clerk of court o kaya stenographer, posible pang masabi natin na nag-work siya in the judiciary. Kasi ito yung mga employees under the judicial branch. Now, halimbawa, ang mga court stenographers, yung mga sweldo nila, ay sineset din po, administratively under the Supreme Court. Now, yung sinasabi nilang as officers of the court nga, hindi po, that argument doesn't work. Even if she is an officer of the court, working with the PAO means she was under the Department of Justice, which is an executive branch, not the judicial branch. So gusto ko lang liwanagin yon na kahit may mag-argue sa inyo, halimbawa later on na she's an officer of the court or she appeared in court, doesn't make her a member of the judiciary, nor does it make can we say that she worked in the judiciary. She probably worked with them. So, hi, ano na lang, kumbaga, wag na lang. Now, the second topic that I wanted to talk about is that nag-statement po si Senator Dillon at sinabi na niya categorically na hindi daw last-minute insertion yung clause, yung villain rider nga na tinatawag natin, including social media, doon sa SIM card Registration Act. Sabi niya pinag-usapan and in the Senate daw that they all agreed na if you're going to be a troll, or no, that's not the word he used. He actually used if you're going to work as a troll, then you cannot hide behind anonymity, which is weird. Okay? Because uh, the problem is, sabi niya, ito daw talaga ang intention ng Senado na bawal kung magto-troll ka, hindi ka dapat anonymous. Etong problema, hindi naman nila dinefine ang troll, nor did they define fake news, which is also another intention daw of the law. So, how can the law intend something, particularly trolling or ano ba yung isa? Fake news, and then act to deprive a person of rights or possibly deprive a person of rights without a clear definition in the law. So, void yun. Void yung part na yun. At least if there's a big possibility na naging unconstitutional na yung pagsingit na yun. Now, the question is, can the president veto just that provision? No, he cannot. Ang line, excuse me, napuying ako. Ang line item vetoes lang po ay pwede lang sa tax measures o and, ano ba 'to, the national budget. Aray, ang sakit, napuwing talaga ako, ayaw mawala. Ouch. Okay. Ah, bakit tinatanong ni Grisel S, may FB Live din ba si attorney ngayon? If that isn't me, who are you talking about and why would I know? Sabi ni Nathan Claro, you have to forgive Miss Catriona. She wasn't prepared when she said that she wasn't wearing her gown. Now, I think that, well, being a layman, it might be an easy mistake to make. But the problem is, I think this may have been referred to her, yung pag-i-endorso niya ng ganito, it, kumbaga, it didn't happen in a vacuum. She should have been better advised. Yun lang. But I don't want to bash her. I just want all of us to correct her. Wag naman pong wag na natin siyang awayin. Um, wala naman siyang well, the problem with that sort of mistake is that it miseducates people. Tinatanong ni Efren Cruz, totoo ba VP was professor was an economics professor at the Universidad de Santa Isabel from 1987 to 1997? Well, let's check that. Um, I'm not sure if they use the term professor correctly because pagka professor ka, you're tenured. You're not just a lecturer. So we're going to have to check that. Robredo, Professor Santa Isabel. What's this? Universidad de Santa Isabel. I thought that she graduated there, but I didn't know that she taught there. But the question is, was she a professor? So, very specific po yan. In the university, a professor means that you're tenured, that you're, kumbaga, full-time. Everybody else, pagka lecturer ka pa lang, hindi ka pa, well, you don't qualify yet for the title of that. And you can be terminated at any time. Pagka professor, I understand it has to be for cause. So, ulitin ko po for Jomar Metalico. What about sa prosecutor, Madam? Pwede bang makonsider na experience ng judiciary? First, Leni was not a prosecutor. She was with the public attorney's office and she doesn't. Pag public attorney, usually hindi ka nagpo-prosecute, nag-defend ka. So, kasi 'di ba, pagka criminal cases, may taga-usig, may taga-depensa. So, hindi siya yung taga-usig. Would that be an experience in the judiciary? No, the public prosecutors are under the Department of Justice, under the National Prosecutorial Service, which is part of the executive branch. They appear in court, and that's the nature of what they say is an officer of the court. You are allowed to appear before the court. Now, officers of the court are members of the bar. Now, do you know the term why it was called members of the bar? In the olden times, I understand that this was in England, there was a bar that separates the judge from the rest of the world, from the riffraff, or the judge is also in a higher position, but there's also a bar. Yung bar na yon, uh, yung mga audience or mga tao, yung mga mga akusado, mga usisero and all that, they could not be in front of the bar. Yung mga allowed lang dun sa beyond the bar are those who pass the bar or members of the bar and therefore are lawyers. Tapos behind that bar is everybody else. So that means kapag you have passed the bar or you can enter the bar, that means you are qualified to appear before the magistrate. And in order to do that, there are qualification requirements. Now, dati wala pang bar exam yan, but you had to qualify or sit in reading for the study of law. And only then, and only when you have been certified to that, can you be an officer of the court. And an officer of the court can interact or can appear before the magistrates. Okay? Who's Catriona, sabi ni Agut. I'm not sure if that's a serious question, but she was our former Miss Universe. Joe Lakang asks, with regard to the case of Ping Lacson and his previous party, is it not considered bribery when the party officials ask for money for an endorsement? Hmm. Okay. Now, bribery usually means that you pay money to a government official who has uh, discretion. Meaning yung official na yon can decide on something or another or can give something or another. Let's say, decide on a permit. Bribery yan. Pagka binigyan mo ng pera yung isang opisyalis kasi pwede siyang mag-decide on giving you a permit. Pwede maglakad and so on. So normally it's for a person with discretion. Now, what is being given here in consideration of stepping down is not in their capacity as a government official. Meaning, although Senator Lacson is a senator of the Republic, he was not being uh, paid or sino ba yan? To step down. Diba? He was not, no, there was no consideration being given to him as a senator, but rather as a candidate. So no, it does not qualify as bribery in the sense that you mean. Okay? It's not the corruption of an official because this is not an exchange in consideration of their position in government. O halimbawa, wala naman nagbigay ng pera kay Mayor Isko in consideration of, let's say, giving a license or permit that only the mayor would be allowed to give. Okay? So, wag niyo please disabuse your mind of that one. I know that naiinis tayo dun sa nangyari. And the three candidates were correct in raising that as an issue. But please take note, wala naman pong nagsasabi na ito ay krimen. And as a matter of fact, dun sa panig ni Mrs. Robredo, sinasabi nila, hindi ba gano'n naman talaga? You're asking them to step down, pero most likely, may hihingi ng kapalit yung mga kandidato. Sorry. Hindi ko sinasadya. I'm not bored with you. I'm just really tired. Sabi ni Ian, going active pa Ian, si Catriona Gray ang isa kasi sa nagkakalat niyan. Sorry, Fansa, but she's not really bright when it comes to politics. Beauty na lang siya. Strike 2 na yan, una dun sa ATL. Yeah. Yeah. Sabi ni Scorpio, so yun pala yung significance ng divider separating the audience from the lawyers as well as the jury in US courtrooms. Hindi lang pala siya basta harang lang. In fact, there is even a reason for the positioning of the witnesses. So halimbawa, usually yung witnesses o yung tetestigo, the prosecutor is on the right side and the defense is on the left side. Pag nakaharap yung judge, nasa left side niya yung prosecutor, nasa right side niya yung defense. Pero on our side, as the audience, nandun sa right yung prosecutor, nasa left yung defense. And that is actually a choreographed position. That's standard for the courtrooms. Kasi dati, because ang jury usually stayed on the right. The jury represents the ordinary citizen, a jury of their peers, peers of the accused. And in that, supposedly, the prosecutor is placed on that side because they will be closer to the people because they represent the people. And then the defense is on the opposite of that. At least yun yung kinuwento ng prof namin. Our professor before was Professor Raul Pangalangan. He told that in class. Sabi ni IVDC 28, done my voting here in Oman. Pansin ko po after mabasa ng machines yung votes, may list na lumalabas at pagkatapos ma-check kung tama boto, nilalagay maliit na papel sa carton box. Okay lang po ba yan? Yes. Yung maliit na papel na yon, yan yung resibo. Pero kailangan isoli mo yan sa COMELEC, and that's why you put it in that carton or box. Dito sa sa Pilipinas, ilalagay din yung resibo parang in the ballot box also, pero dun sa narrow, sa small side, not dun sa ballot side. Yes, that is correct. Robert Nocum said Leni accused BBM of spreading the non-existent Aika sex video. It is unlikely for BBM to sue her for it. Can anyone else sue her for accusing him of that? No, because the crime here is libel. At ang sa libel, yun lang pong aggrieved party, excuse me, kung sino yung nilibel, siya lang po ang may karapatan mag-file ng kaso. In theory, pwede yang i-file ng iba because it should be a public crime. Pero it would be impossible to prove if the person libeled doesn't complain. Kasi what you have to prove here is yung damages, sleepless nights, besmirched reputation, and so on. Sabi ni ako si Dakoy-Koy, nag-increase ang registered voters now, mas lalong dumami. Well, it's a natural increase in the population as well, di ba? So, ibig sabihin, dumami yung mga pinanganak 18 years or more ago, therefore, dadami talaga yung number of voters. Also, excuse me, sorry, I don't mean to yon. It's past my bedtime. Um, it might also indicate an excitement of some people who had never voted before to vote this time for these candidates. Uh, Sabi ni Ma'am Margarita Buenaventura Tomas, yung ballot box daw po ay karton lang. Okay lang po ba yon? As long as it is the designated ballot box. Now, the problem kasi is sometimes yung election paraphernalia late po dumadating sa OFWs dun sa barrel. Sorry, I don't mean that. Kung saan kayo naroon kasi pinapadala pa po yan. So, they're allowed non-regulation ballot boxes in the absence of the regular ballot box. Basta ililipat nila, excuse me, once dumating. Yung issue about sa hindi binabasa yung boto ng mga OFWs for BBM na only BBM lang ang hindi binasa ng machine and the same for Sarah. Okay, first you have to be very specific kung saan po ito nangyari. Pangalawa, kung sino po yung bumoboto at naobserbahan nito, ito yung nangyari, kailangan i-reklamo ninyo at pwede niyo ireklamo yan. The election officials will give you a form to fill up and you can receive a copy for that. Kung wala silang ibibigay na form, ipapalog in niyo po yan doon sa sa election officials. Now, Ibig sabihin nun, mali yung resibo ninyo. So, kailangan iprotesta ninyo yon and indicate who their vote was for. So, once malagin yan, they will decide on the issue if it is going to make a difference in the outcome of the election. Not all of these small complaints will get a hearing or a trial. Hmm. Sabi ni Newtonium X, is it a possibility na yung sinabi nila na bigayan sila ng cabinet post kung sino man sa kanila manalo, ay parinig talaga yun kay BBM na kung manalo siya, ibigyan sila ng cabinet post. Um, I don't think parinig works. Alam niyo, even if it's true na nagpaparinig sila kay BBM, this is not the kind of strategy that works. But you know what works? That they talk to the candidate himself. Sabi ni Ma'am Joanne Alcantara, nakakahawa daw yung hikab ko. Actually, that has its roots in the in prehistoric societies. Dahil hindi pa po established yung norm that people would sleep at night and be awake in the daytime, the yawning would signify when that the entire group, the entire community would sleep, would rest. Kasi wala naman silang education or indication kung kailan sila dapat matulog o hindi. And otherwise, they would just continue working. So if one person yawns, the whole, nakakahawa siya talaga. We are actually wired para mahawa tayo dun sa mga, hikab. Sorry, Norman. Grabe, sunod-sunod na to, nakakahiya. Sabi ni Ma'am Mau Abellera, dapat i-report yan, hindi lang post ng post. That is correct. Ngayon, I understand na yung ang Partido Federal and yung mga allied na parties kay BBM will be conducting voter education. Anong kailangan gawin and so on, or parang training also for the watchers. So, I'm just waiting for the go signal on that one. I think the person who would naturally be in charge with that is ano ba yan? Attorney George, but we have to wait. So, ano po bang secret nyo? Bakit kahit anong emotion nyo, modulated pa rin yung voice nyo, wala lang. No, kasi I've learned not to overuse my voice. Madaldal na nga ako to begin with because I have two radio shows. So, uh, yun nga. So, kumbaga, conservation lang po ng boses. Okay? Um, Sabi ni Chua Kabi, the fact that they appear in court does not make them part of the judiciary. To be considered part of the judiciary, the salary should come from the SC. Public attorneys appear not only before courts but also in other government agencies like the NLRC, if allowed. Yeah. Eto, sabi ni Alvin Palomo, because of Drilon's insertion of other provisions in SIM card registration act, delaying tactics ang gawa niya. That's why PRRD did not sign the bill regarding the SIM card registration. No, sir, I disagree. Pwede bang kasuhan si Drilon sa ginawa niya? No, sir, hindi po pwede. Almost 3 years na pala yung pinag-aaralan din Drilon at something like this. Wrongful act ang ginawa ni Drilon. No, not necessarily because it is in his power as a senator to propose changes in proposed legislation. Wala pong walang inherent wrong dyan. Meaning, it's not a crime. It's not illegal. He's allowed to do that. Pero, people are reacting because he inadvertently caused a delay. Now, if you will read his statements, at yan ang binabasihan natin, ebidensya natin yan, is yung mga statements niya, mukha namang hindi niya intention yung delay. Actually, he really wanted that portion of the law to be included at hindi niya iniisip yung unconstitutionality nito. I disagree kasi also kung yun yung intention niya to make it unconstitutional, why that? Why social media? Mapapansin yan eh. I'd put in something that is more innocuous, more less nakakapansin. So besides, ito yun, you make plans but it depends on the discretion of another party that you cannot control. In this case, the president. So that's a bad plan. If the intention was to make the law unconstitutional, then one, there are easier ways to do it, and two, how can you plan that when the desired action is with a third party? Uh, Ewan ko lang, it sounds to me like a terrible idea. Scorpius 110475, the OFWs in Milan are in an uproar now. May issue yung mga ballot numbers nila according dun sa video na nag-viral this afternoon. Yes, of course, nakakainis talaga yan at nakakagalit. Now the question is how many of them were like that and did they report them to the election officers? And finally, well, ano ba to? These are the postal ballots. They can report this to the embassy as a way of reporting. Kung malayo kayo dun sa embassy o dun sa actual voting center, maaari kayo magpadala ng email para itawag pansin at ireklamo yung mukhang tampered or pinagubago yung control numbers ng mga balota and ask for a new one. Pero ma'am, bakit niyo pinipilit? Okay, sige. Ma'am Leni Requesta says, pero sabi daw ni Emil Marañon, Catriona is correct. By creed, lawyers are first and foremost officers of the court. Yes, but an officer of the court is not a member of the judiciary and possibly works in court but is not part of the judiciary. Nor does she work in the judiciary. And now remember the words of Catriona were works in or work in. Okay? So I think that Attorney Marañon was imprecise. Yun, task to participate, yada yada, in the functioning of the judicial system to forge justice, true, etc. So I disagree. It is actually an imprecise statement because he does not take into consideration the exact words of Miss Gray, which were worked in the judiciary. Sabi ni Clay Torres, nako, they will say anything just to make Lenlen look smart and holy. But I think what they're doing here is a distortion of definitions. Kulang na lang magpapako siya sa Cruz. Was actually waiting for her to do that over the week. Sayang, grabe kayo. Funny, pero grabe. Now, yun nga, the idea of forcing this definition is a miseducation of the public. I mean, come on. She is not in the judiciary. She is not a part of the judiciary. She is not a member of the judiciary. She possibly appeared in court as a public attorney under the public attorney's office. But that does not make her a judge, does not make her a member of the court or a member of the judiciary, nor does it make her as having worked in the judiciary. We all go to court. RRB says, can one senator like Dillon unilaterally insert an additional provision without consulting the other senators? But that's not what happened here. According to Senator Dillon, this was proposed during the deliberations and had the concurrence of his fellow senators. Now, can one senator insert? I think it's possible, and there are reports that there are some legislators who allegedly did that just before its printing in the Bureau of Printing. Um, I have no evidence as to the truth or falsity of that said gossip, but that's how it can be done. But that would be illegal. Sabi ni Vivian Hickley, my ballot arrived just now. We sent 3 emails. So happy. Joveniel Machon says, how can we make an official complaint about election cheating here abroad like what happened in Italy? Well, it depends kung ang pagbab pagboboto ninyo ay in person, then you will inform the election officials and ask to file a complaint. If your ballot is, if your voting is by postal voting, then you can email your complaint to the embassy and attach the photos of the ballot that you think might have been tampered with. Yung post ng kakamping page, sabi di daw nila kailangan ang Cebu, sinagot na ni Gov Gwen and sabi ni Gov, don't mess with us. Yeah. Sabi ni Kung Fom, hindi siya sa judiciary, pero bakit po parang napaka-judgmental? Good one. Sabi ni Maggie Taverner, gayahin natin ng US, nung tumakbo si President Obama, maraming nanindigan yung mga supporters niya kung tama po kayo, ipaglaban, gawin ng tama para makaboto o mabilang mga boto natin for unity. Hmm. Sabi ni Thea Santiago, I'm sorry if out of topic, but I'm just wondering what the yellows have on Leni para pumayag siya na magpagamit sa kanila to the point na parang okay lang kahit anong ipagawa sa kanya. What do you mean? Well, that's one way of putting it, that she's being threatened with something. But can't you consider the possibility na gusto din niya ito? Yung mga kunwari, ayoko, 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 pakipot. Pero look at how in it she is. How readily inaway niya si BBM during the sex vid link controversy. Ay, oo. Parang ganun. Oo naman. Yung pagkaano niya. Tapos, unang-una, sinungaling siya. Remember her words? Those are fighting words. A person who is just compelled to be a candidate would not be so free with those kinds of statements. Sabi ni Jay Engweiler, Miriam Santiago was the only presidential who had experience in all 3 branches of government, not Mrs. Silobredo. Well, that is correct. She was a senator. She was immigrations commissioner, and she was a judge. Yep. Raymond Christopher Garcia says, sabi daw ng Sumilaw farmers, abogado daw nila si Leni. Oh, well, that's been disproven. Chua Kabi says, hindi po, a practicing lawyer is a member of the bar but not of the bench. Justices and judges are members of the bench, judiciary. Only lawyers who work in the courts and receive their salaries from the Supreme Court are part of the judicial branch. That is correct. J. Cesar Flores Maambong says, si Lenlen nag-work sa PAO, wala daw pinanalo na kaso at umalis sa PAO hindi man lang makakuha ng sarili niyang kliyente. Ha, yun ba yung smart? Well, let me correct you on that one. It's not an indication of how smart she is, but she was only 9 months with the public attorney's office. So I don't think she would have had the time to be able to finish off a case, win or lose, from start to finish. So, medyo malabo i-expect talaga na may maipanalo siya. If ever may nanalong case under her watch, it would have been won by the lawyers coming before her at siya na lang po yung nag-benefit for that. Ah, Umalis sa PAW hindi man lang nakakuha ng sarili niyang kliyente, but we don't know if she went into private practice. We know that she went into Saligan, which is an NGO, supposedly helping out the poor and disadvantaged. So, wag natin yan gamitin to indicate that she wasn't very smart because it's quite possible that yun nga, wala talaga siyang time na makapanalo ng kaso. At pangalawa, hindi siya kumuha ng sariling kliyente kasi hindi naman po siya nag-private practice. What she did, well, not private practice, kumbaga, nag-set up ng sariling law firm or sumali sa law firm. Instead, sumali siya sa saligan. Sabi ni Warden Santanil, according to Larry Gadon, may security ang mga kandidato who are incumbent. Di ba dapat nag-resign sila sa post nila before running for a new post kasi ginagamit nila government resources? No po, it's allowed under the Constitution and under the judicial, the decisions of the Supreme Court. Unang-una, people who run for office are naturally political animals and can engage in politics even while occupying their position. Okay? And it is a political act to run kasi it involves your political rights to vote or to run, to be allowed to run. So, and kapag tumakbo sila for position, meron silang very specific term of office. And being people who occupy position by virtue of a direct mandate, meaning people voted for them, kailangan tinatapos nila yon unless circumstances force them to do otherwise. So no po, hindi sila required to resign and pero bawal naman gamitin ang government resources. So you cannot use halimbawa the buses if the DOTR has buses and so on. Hindi naman talaga pwede yun. Tinatanong ni Gina Lynn Roland, ang balota po na pinadala sa friend ko sa Japan, may bura po ng liquid paper sa ballot number. Hindi po ba mawalang visa ang boto na yan? You need to clarify that kung worried kayo. So, you take a picture of it, fire a question to your embassy, and ask kung this is allowed. At saka, ano yung explanation for that? Normally kasi pwede naman natin tanungin, it might be explained by, by a simple thing like mali talaga to begin with yung numbers na yon at inutos ng COMELEC palitan yung mga numbers. So, uh, you'll need to clarify that. Hang on, inom lang ako. Ayan, sorry, I need to drink kasi medyo nagka-crack na yung boses ko. Sabi ni Nico San Lorenzo, judiciary man or not, hindi ko pa rin iboboto si Leni and mas lalong di ko siya iboboto dahil lang a former Miss Universe endorsed her. Good one. Thank you kay Jose Idumin. Sabi niya, bakit kaya ang mga pari at mga obispo ay nakikisali sa mga kasi inhaling mga alagad pa naman sila ng Diyos? Hindi ako sure. Mhm. Sabi ni Ma'am Suzette Strandberg, bukod pa sa paghihikab, ano pang nakakahawa na gesture? Trying to remember. I don't know, because sometimes people tend to emulate each other. May mga times na, di ba, nakakahawa yung ano. Um, yung iba, kunwari, kakate, subconsciously, naka-conscious tayo about our own faults. And pero ang alam ko lang talaga yung documented yung hikab eh. Sabi ni Anthony A. Coloma, bumoto kami ng friend ko sa first day ng OAV. Hindi kami pinatakan ng indelible ink. Bagong utos ba yan ng COMELEC? Hindi po. Kasi sa OAV, because there are postal balloting, hindi po necessarily ibig sabihin na kailangan pa kayong patakan. Yung pinapatakan talaga yung dito because of the danger of flying voters. Gayunpaman dapat may pasabi sila sa inyo kung bakit wala silang indelible ink. It might also be possible na hindi dumating. Sabi ni Ma'am Joanne Alcantara, yung 'pag nag-alis ng muta po yung kasama niyo at humawak sa ilong, mahahawak ka din. Ay gano'n ba? Hindi ko alam 'yon. Sabi ni J. Cesar, may viral video na naman mga kakamping sa loob ng SM North, yung tinatawag nilang tao sa tao. Kala nila effective, ginagawa nila mas lalong naiinis sa kanilang mga tao at lalong hindi iboboto yung presidente nila. Nakaka-offensive kasi yung ginagawa nila. Well, nakaka-offend. It's not necessarily illegal, but it's horribly rude. So, I wonder if they're aware of that. Medyo strange nga, no? Medyo strange yung ganun. But I'd like to point out na sa Luminous, matagal na namin sinabi yan. Nung in-announce nila yung house to house, tao sa tao, tinanong ko talaga, bakit? Ngayon, tao sa tao. Sino bang kausap niyo dati? Hindi tao? It's so strange that they would use that term. Weng Yan says, kung nag-Miss Universe si Madam Leni tapos question and answer niya, good luck. Tapos isa sa judge si Catriona, tago mode sa ilalim ng upuan. Wow. Sabi ni Ian Abelia, how likely na ang way na pandayan nila ay pre-shaded ballots in favor of BBM tapos iipunin nila as evidence para sa protesta nila. Sorry, effective lang ng I shouldn't do live ng antok, ano? Nakakahawa pala. Alright. Kung kahit ipunin nila yon, kailangan yung dami niya will be enough to affect the outcome of the elections bago siya maituring na serious na na protest. So remember na meron pang something like that the COMELEC will possibly deal with the complaint only if it has the tendency to affect the outcome. So kailangan ilang milyon yan. 'Di ba? Ang prediction ng ating mga surveys is that BBM will win by far more than just 14 or 16 million because he's clocking in at over 50%. Now, if 65 million yung botante sa Pilipinas, 50% is what? 35? No. Sorry. 65 million is 32.5 million. So, they need to be able to pre-shade ballots enough to affect the outcome of the national election. So, guys, we have to be on our guard. Ang titignan natin, not just these things, kasi nga, like I said, the more common means of cheating is in the machine itself. So, I really don't know why these other issues we might be going overboard over the other issues. But like I said, tama kayo to be vigilant. Tama to be concerned about every detail of the election process. The ballots, the demeanor of our election officials, the ballot boxes, and all that. So this is all good because this means that everybody is being vigilant. But kailangan ang importante diyan ay lipunin yung ebidensya para kung sakasakali na ma-challenge, handa tayo. Kasi mas nangko-concern ako dun sa mga strategies nga uh, that bypass the popular vote. So yung mga DQ, ganyan. Yan yung mga iisipin natin. So yung mga allegedly cheating, yung mga ganon. O kaya yung ways to scare us into not voting. So yung mga threats, mga violence and all that in certain areas, yon may intindihan ko. Pero yung sa balota, it's really, really hard to cheat sa pagganyan. Kasi nakita niyo na ba yung bilangan? Di ba yung attempt, yung mga tinatawag na natin relista ng mga balota? It takes a long, long, long time. Sabi ni Ma'am Ses, what is your opinion about the Leni camp na nag-threaten na magkakagulo daw pag hindi nanalo ang mga Pinklawan? Alright, although I don't give an opinion on everything, I just want to make that clear. But this one we also discussed kanina sa radyo sa Karambola. Kasi yung pag-threaten na ganyan is, it's illegal. Kahit yung mga parang kasi naghihikayat kayo na magkagulo. Parang nag-i-encourage ka pa sa mga tao na umalsa. Remember, there is a crime called inciting to rebellion. So, what if a full-scale rebellion has happened and you win, then no problem, there's no crime. What if you don't win? Then it's a crime. Eh? Shucks. Almost spilled the tea. Sabi ni Leng, with that lead, BBM will surely win on May 9. The question now is, will they allow him to be the first majority president post-EDSA? Well, these are impressions, no? I think what counts is what people actually feel. They feel that they're the ones who voted for BBM, then normally the people we vote for, we support. But that's not always the case. There are examples of people changing their minds afterwards. Sabi ni Jacinto Cruz, lagi niyong sinasabi na ang problema sa eleksyon ay sa loob ng machine. Paano natin ito maiiwasan? Unfortunately, for those of us who are on the outside, there's not really much that we can do. Pagdating sa ganun. That's why the proposals of Senator Amy and Attorney Glenn Chong are yung hybrid elections, because then we will be able to actually see the ballots and their count. Hindi lang yung machine ang nakakakita. So remember, in that instance, kailangan dipunin din yung ebidensya of the ballots itself. So walang choice, bubuksan yung balota, and the people who can make complaints about that are the candidates themselves. Okay. Sabi ni Alan Cool, Ironman, pwede po bang picturean ang balota upon completion ng pagboto? Only if it's a postal ballot. Kasi wala tayong there's no way that can be prevented or can be prevented by the election officials. Pero dito sa Pilipinas, at saka yung sa in-person voting, hindi po pwede. Bawal po talaga yon. Kasi it's to prevent the selling of our votes. Sabi ni Ma'am Karen, na-imagine niyo ba kung anong klaseng huwes ina nila kung natuloy ma-appoint? Kawawa siguro yung branch na trial court na yon. Masisisi ba yung motherhood line of questioning sa mga global beauty pageants kasi parang nakakadismaya di nagbabasa bago magsalita. It might be that they think that she worked in the judiciary because she actually got an appointment as a judge, as a Bicol, but she never sat kasi tumakbo na siya bilang kongresista. Jojo Perez says, in 1986, most Marcos loyalists inside Malacanang were asking the late Apo to give us the weapons inside the armory. But the president, who was in a wheelchair almost, stood up and said, big no. Thank God. He knew. He also, diba, instructed General Ver on television not to fire on the people who were gathering in EDSA. Sabi ni Nini Sharon, DNR, PCA, DNR Boss Jonat, DOH, Doc Willie Dos, Kyle Balita. Ano po yun? Ha? Uy, hindi ha. That's highly unlikely. Si Doc Willie cannot be appointed until 1 year after the elections, nor can Carl Balita be appointed until then. Sabi ni Joanne Alcantara, pwede bang malaman ang beauty secret niyo, kinis-kinis niyo po, parang di naghahagardo Versosa. Ang number one beauty secret ay yung galing ng phone. I think may automatic chuva ito eh. That, that, that smoothens your skin. Even if I turn it off, may natitira siya. So that might be it. I don't know, you'll have to ask the people who have seen me in person if it's the same thing. I know I don't have acne scars or anything like that, but uh, uh, if you really want to know, ano ba? Vitamin C, retinol, um, sunblock, sometimes hyaluronic acid. It's not really an acid. Well, it is, but it doesn't corrode your skin. Um, alpha-arbutin, sometimes. Moisturizer. Yun lang po. But pero medyo religious yung pagtanggal ng makeup, mga ganun-ganun. But I think that baka you're just seeing the effects of the phone. Pag masyadong nagpapaniwala. John Tamayo says, I argued with the kakamping in the comment section sa isang page. He's insisting na part po talaga ng judicial si VP Leni. Yung sumasagot dito kanina, I think you should listen to her. Sabi ni Ma'am Sheila, ano po ang diet ninyo? Which I haven't been following a lot. Usually, I just eat once or twice a day. When I'm in full diet mode, 20 hours of fasting, 4 hours eating, or 24 hours fasting and then 1 meal. Pagka yun talaga pag malala na. Sabi ni Flavie Serafico, yes po, maganda talaga at ang bata ng looks niya and Trixie in person, nakaka-starstruck po. Saan po ba tayo nun? Baka naman makeup yun. Sabi ni Ma'am Pinay, beauty sleep din naman. You seem to be a good sleeper. Ay, opo. Grabe. Can sleep anywhere. Which isn't a good thing. Sabi ni Scorpius, I've seen you in person, lakas maka-aura. Napahiya pa nga mga kalaban mo, di nakasagot sa tanong mong, where's your evidence? Tiklop mga abogado ni Inton. We heckled a lot. Saan ito, Inton? Inton? Saan po yan, Scorpius? I don't remember this. Ito ba yung debate? Sabi ni Teodoro Ramos, hello po mahal kong Attorney Trix. I predict that Leni will not only lose but also be charged with treason, sedition, and rebellion. She better pray to all santos and santas, including Santa Mesa. I don't think she can ever be charged of treason unless suddenly bigla tayong nagkagyera because treason can only be committed during wartime. It's one of those laws that I think should be changed. It's in the revised penal code. Sedition means you're trying to prevent a person from occupying position or removing power from him or preventing a person from executing the law. So, let's see. Rebellion, now that's closer to home. Yung mga kung hindi siya yung manalo, magkakagulo. These are threats that might be deemed inciting to rebellion. Not quite. Magkakalusot pa rin. Pero it's not a good thing. So wag nating gayahin siya ha. Nakikita ko dun sa iba sa atin dito sa comment section. Pag di nanalo si BBM, aalsa kami, magkakagulo. No. Please don't say that. Even BBM doesn't say that because he knows that not only is it illegal, it's also unethical. Parang ang pikon naman natin. What we have to work on is a fair fight. So, if our candidate loses but it's a fair fight, hindi dapat tayo umaalsa. Although I don't see the possibility of that even happening considering the numbers. Okay? So, huwag masyadong worried na ganon. Ang mas importante, binabantayan natin yung ating mga sariling boto, yung electoral process. Ayun na nga, sabi ni Flavie Serafico sa debate ni Miss Sas at Javan sa Luneta. Luneta Hotel, yeah. Ay, hindi. Sa Luneta, yeah, sa dating Army and Navy, no? Luneta Hotel ba yan? No, it was in... Where were we? I forgot. Yeah, tama. It's the old Army and Navy Club. Yep. Tama ba? Yeah, I think that was it, diba? Thank you. Naalala mo pa pala yun? Mark Cabrado says, baka Queen Cat is referring sa root word the justice. Kaya pagkaintindi niya judiciary is judicial. Needs more research. I don't think that Miss Gray was alone in making that video. She was possibly asked or given a script, in which case she had been really badly advised. Tinatanong ni June Lahay-Lahay, nakarating na po ba sa inyo yung reklamo ng mga botante sa Milan, Italy? Well, I've read them online and like I said, kailangan ireklamo ito. And at the same time, mag-iintay din tayo kasi kailangan sagutin din ng embassy. Halimbawa, yung embassy sa Singapore, naglabas ng statement na yung pre-shaded ballot is an isolated incident. I think there was another embassy also who said the same thing, na parang lang yan, na naiwan sa ballot box and so on. So, at inadvertently nagamit. So, we'll wait for the embassy to issue a statement or kung ano yung gagawin nila. Sabi ni Teodoro Ramos, salamat po sa enlightenment about the laws. By the way, I listen to Karambola every day and it perks up my mornings. Mahal na mahal ko kayong mga kapwa unity. Yes, and we have to stick together. Scorpius says, Winston Garcia, aka Inton. Oh, your business clothes. Read as battle armor, black blazer, black knee-length skirt, knee-high boots. Yeah, I remember. As representing the employees. Sabi ni Raquel R.F. Roy, naka-live din si TP pero ikaw na muna pinanood ko, hindi naman magsiselos yun. Uy, mabait si TP and you can catch his replay. Pero patapos na rin naman tayo. So, ang alam ko, sabi ni Ma'am Clarita Jimenez Reyes, genetically, tayong mga Chinese blood ay may young look talaga. Well, yeah. Yeah, in all likelihood, my great-grandfather was, kasi galing Cavite, so we suspect that he was Sangley or son of or grandson of Sangley. Sabi ni Nawa, Makakayan, LP will not give a fair fight against their enemies. Black propaganda ang pinanlalaban nila. Yes, yes, we have to watch out for that. Yung mga that's why hindi sila tumitigil sa pag-criticize sa ating kandidato. Remember yung mga pinagsasabi nila and all that. If they do not succeed in this election, I expect continuous harsh and vicious criticism. So we also have to be prepared for that because we know that these people have cut short presidencies before. Okay? And we don't want that to happen. So we need to look not just at the election process, but after that, we cannot afford na makampante even after elections. Remember that that a country works together, 'di ba? Yan na nga yung purpose ng unity. It's not just the government working for us, but we ourselves, all of us working for the common good. So, you're right that there will always be people who pinangunguna nila ang sarili nilang self-interest. Medyo doble yun. Ang self-interest nila. So, aabangan at babantayan natin yung mga tao na ganun. Pero always be on your guard that we cannot descend to the same level as our enemies. Kung sila po willing lumabag sa batas, dapat tayo hindi ganon. We must learn the lessons of the past. It will not correct a wrong to commit another wrong. It just adds to all of these wrongs. And worse, creates bad values for generations to come. Okay, so um, the easiest way to serve our government is by strictly adhering to the law as much as we can. And I know this is hard. Kasi halimbawa, um, in theory, di ba, pagka the traffic light turns red, well, sa pedestrian, just talking about pedestrians. Pagka vehicular traffic, it's so tempting to cross the intersection kahit naka-red light ka pa kung walang ibang sasakyan dun sa daan. But all of these serve a purpose. And ako, I've learned from that. The laws serve a purpose. So even if nobody is looking, even when it seems that you can get away with it, the best thing to do is always to adhere not just to the spirit of the law, but to the letter as well. Right? And ang isa pang dapat ginagawa natin is to be gently also educate the people around us. Like Miss Gray goes online and says that the vice president worked in 3 different branches of government, which is not true. Okay? Eto, sabi ni Bobby Fajardo, nice meme in Twitter, bawal matulog sa May 9, 2022, yung kalaban natin, 18 hours gising. Good one. And on that note, maraming salamat sa pagsubaybay sa Luminous sa pag-live natin ngayong gabi. Huwag pong kakalimutan yung like and share natin at yung follow sa Facebook page at saka subscribe sa YouTube channel natin. Guys, don't forget ha, importante po kasi itong mga to. Beyond a certain number kasi Facebook will realize that we can earn more for them rather than keep throttling us. So that's why we're aiming for a higher number of followers sa Facebook, not because we want to earn more, but it keeps the higher the numbers, the less chances of being throttled or taken down. Okay? Yung talagang mga halang lang talaga na posts, yun talaga will get you in trouble. So, don't forget then to subscribe to our YouTube channel. O baka hindi pa kayo nakaka-subscribe dyan, ha? Okay. Okay, one last comment. Tignan natin. Ay, thank you kay Jojo Perez for your super sticker. Ito, last. Marco Marcelo says, nag-file po ng bill ang Duterte Youth na i-change ang name ng NAIA. May chance po ba na ma-enact with only 2 months na lang before June 30. Mababa po talaga yung chances niyan kasi it will require deliberations in the committee. First reading sa plenary, papadala sa committee, committee has to conduct hearings, then issue a committee report, and then, it goes up to plenary where it should be debated and so on. So, I won't hold my breath on that one. It's been filed before and ang dami na pong requests even from Attorney Larry, hindi po napaunlakan yon. So, let's see. Ay, maraming salamat. Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. Huwag pong kakalimutan, like, share, follow, and subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow on Karambola, 8 to 10 ng umaga sa TWIZ. Okay? Thank you. Good night.